So warmly welcome to you all, our dear customers, to this direct line webinar. And today we are talking about M1 emission classification, how to apply, and where we can support you. And we are here representing the product managers. So we are Annina Telkkälä and Hanna Leppänen. Here you can see the people working with M1 classification. So we have two product coordinators, Emil Ferrand and Jussi Pietiläinen, who are not here today, but they are helping you with the applications online. And then Annina, if you could represent yourself, and then I can go on.
Yeah. So hello everyone, I'm Annina Telkkälä and I work as a product manager at M1 and I work on emission and cleanliness classifications. And I graduated last year with a master's degree in process engineering and I started working at Rakennustieto in autumn 24.
Thank you, Annina. And I also started to work in Rakennustieto at the same fall that Annina did. And my background is in research area. So I have my PhD from emissions, but mostly the microbial exposure in indoor environments. But I have done the research as a senior expert in our Finnish National Institute for Health and Welfare for 19 years. And then I moved with my career to more about the chemical emissions. And I'm now working with M1 emission classification and also the M1 cleanliness classification, which is targeted for ventilation products. And also last fall, I started to be the team leader of a conformity team. But here you can see us all, but let's get forward to the webinar and our missions for today. So hopefully you will get answers to these questions at least, and maybe some more questions are coming. So we go through what are the criteria for M1 emission classification and for which kind of products you can apply the classification. Then to motivate you, we go through why to choose M1 classification for your products. And we all know that there are different international emission classifications available, but how does M1 differ from the other ones? The EU taxonomy sets limits for indoor emissions, so we go through how M1 can answer this question. And at the last session, we will go through the application portal, what has changed in there, and maybe get some tips how to get through with the application process smoothly. But first, I would like to introduce our company, Rakennustieto Oy. It has been originated in 1942, and our office is located in Helsinki, Finland. We are owned by the Building Information Foundation, RTS, and the RTS has their committees that represent the highest expertise in the real estate and construction sector. And there are also the perspectives of various stakeholders in the industry in Finland. And Rakennustieto Oy is the leading provider of construction information in Finland. We have about almost 60 employees in our company. And we are here to provide the information, product data, and verification services, which one of those is the M1 emission classification. And this is to answer for the needs of construction, infrastructure, building technology, and property management. Here you can see maybe that who owns the M1 classification. Of course, you will get a certificate, but the classification is owned by the Building Information Foundation, RTS, who owns the Rakennustieto Oy company. We at Rakennustieto Oy, we operate the emission classifications. So when you send the classifications in the portal, they will come to us. Us four team members will go them through, and then we have the separate impartial classification committee who gives the decisions of the classification. And then we will send the certificates in the portal for you. But first, to motivate why it is important for the products to have an emission classification. So in the indoor environment, we are living mostly indoors. So we spend more than 90% of our lifetime in different indoor environments. And that is why the quality of indoor air has a great impact of the human's well-being. We have different factors that affect the indoor environment. So we have always the physical factors, so the temperature, the draft, the ventilation is impacting on the physical factors. Then we have the particulate impurities, so for example, fine particles, allergens, microbes. So with the M1 cleanliness classification for the ventilation products, you can also target these particulate factors as well as gases factors. But with the M1 emission classification, what we are talking today, those are targeting for the gaseous impurities, for example, formaldehyde, ammonia, volatile organic compounds. But here's the history about M1 emission classification. This year, we are celebrating the 30 years old emission classification. So the M1 emission classification was introduced already in 1996. We don't have in Finland a national legislation regarding the emissions of building materials, but this voluntary way of using the M1 classification has been highly successful. In 1996, the aim was to promote the development and use of low-emitting building materials. And when we see the research data done in Finnish buildings, so offices and homes, we can see that the TVOC levels, so the volatile organic compounds levels, has dropped dramatically in office type buildings and also in homes from hundreds to tens. So there is an impact with using the M1 classification. Well, what is the criteria for M1 classification? So the foundation is to support good indoor environment quality. And in Finland, we see that the odor evaluation is an important part of this criteria. So sometimes, even if the emission levels are low, below the M1 criteria, the product can have a strong odor, which is not pleasant. And in this case, we cannot say that this product supports good indoor air quality if the people cannot stand the odor. The odor testing in M1 emission classification is done in accordance with the ISO 16028 standard. And this testing is carried out blindly, so there is 15 panelists that are smelling the product in the chamber. And then we calculate the average of these, what they give the result of it, if it's pleasant or not. And in addition to volatile organic compounds and formaldehyde, there is also the ammonia testing as a mandatory part of M1 testing. And why this is the ammonia is there is that even though casein is no longer used in these screed type products, there are still some other sources of ammonia in different product types. And in addition to these criteria I mentioned, there's also the carcinogenic compounds, these categories 1A and 1B as a mandatory part of M1 testing. In M1 emission classification, the testing protocol says that the emission testing is done after 28 days. So no fresh product is tested, so it's always 4 weeks old. There is no compositional testing in M1, so we don't open the can and then test what is inside, but we are testing the emissions from the building materials in indoor air. In M1, there is no annual audit, so it's a little bit smoother way. And the only compositional requirement is that the plaster type products cannot contain casein, and the obsolete office chairs do not contain fungicides. So those are asked in the application. And of course, we expect that the application comes to us, those products are fulfilling the legal requirements. For M1 classification, it utilizes the EU LCA limit values, and all the criteria are given as a specific area emission rates, so CERs, and this testing is done according to EN standard 16516, and the CER value can be converted to reference room concentration, but the CER value is the valid one. For small and very small areas such as tiling ground or ceilings or window frames, and also the obsolete office chairs, the M1 criteria is given by a reference room concentration, but otherwise in these area-specific emission rates. Here is the table of M1 criteria. So here the first two columns are the valid ones, which we are taking into account when going through the applications. The classification committee takes these into account. But then because the international other emission classification are by a model room concentration, so these CER values are now converted to model room concentration. You can then see what it would be for them. But here are the criteria. So for volatile organic compounds, the total emissions of those, then the different volatile organic compounds by themselves should be below or same as EU LCI values. Then we have the criteria for formaldehyde, ammonia, carcinogenic compounds, and then the odor acceptability. We have the quality assurance, so we have the testing laboratories that are approved by us. So they have to apply to be our approved laboratory, and there are some requirements that they shall fulfill. So the laboratory should have an accredited quality assurance system, and the accreditation should cover the chemical testing of material emissions, including the chamber technique, and doing this by the ISO 16000 series standards. And of course, it's important that the laboratory regularly participates and proves their acceptable performance in the international round-robin tests. But we have the laboratories around the world, not in every part, but we are happy if many of the laboratories contact us and would then cover more around the world. What we do to maintain the quality is that we do the annual spot checks of different types of M1 classified products to ensure the product reliability. So, of course, these are then if you are taken as a representative of this round-robin test of us, so then we of course pay the cost of the testing and the application. Well, we have 10,000 of M1 classified building products and furniture, but these are the product types that can have the M1 emission classification. So I think most of our applications are covered by this building and decoratory materials. We have many certifications for floor coverings, building boards, paints and varnishes, adhesives, insulations. These are the most typical applications. Then you can have M1 emission classification for non-obsolete furniture, for example, drawers, chairs. And from the up-shouldered ones, we have the office and auditorium chairs that you can apply to M1 emission classification. Also, the fixtures are in our scope, so kitchen and bathroom cupboards, for example, countertops, and then these factory-made elements and combined products such as windows and doors. Unfortunately, not every building material cannot be M1 classified. So, for example, appliances and other electrical devices cannot be classified, and sofas and other obsolete furniture, except these obsolete office chairs and auditorium chairs. You cannot apply M1 emission classification for sporting equipment or mirrors and toilet seats, for example. But with massive structures, that is too big to put in your chamber. But you can then have utilize the M1 classification for the surface materials. It is very important that the product has been proven to be low emitting. It's a really good start, but not the only answer for indoor air quality. So it is very important that the product manufacturer is responsible for ensuring that the product meets the requirements. So, for example, if there have been some changes in the product process, then please contact us and we can discuss with the classification committee if it's okay, these changes, or if the product has to be tested again. And an M1 classified product is low emitting only when it's properly stored, installed, and used. So it is really important to give the correct use and maintenance instructions. So it is important to say how the product should be stored, for example, not stored in humid conditions, what type of application and which other products the product is suitable for use. For example, if the product is low emitting, but it is combined with a product that it shouldn't be, then there can be some more emissions coming. It is also very important to say how the product should be serviced and maintained, and what cleaning methods and cleaning agents should be used with this specific product. So there will be no co-reactions with the chemicals, for example. And of course, the quality assurance, sufficient documentation, operational guidance should be always guaranteed. We are today happy to see you all, and we know that you are representing different countries worldwide. And here in the map, you can see that today 2/3 of the M1 classified products are applied by international companies. So even if it started as a Finnish voluntary way, it is now known worldwide. And today there are 26 different countries that the companies are representing that have been given the certification. Of course, most of you maybe sell in Finland, which is in Finland it is very common that the cities are demanding that the product should be M1 classified, that the product, when the product is built, that is why in Finnish market it is important to have M1 classification. But we know that some of the companies are selling outside of Finland, and this tells us that it is an important certificate also outside of Finland. But there are some other international classification, well, many of those, and now we go through how does M1 differ from the other ones. So M1 sets limits for the emissions I earlier told, so TVOX, formaldehyde, and ammonia, as well as the acceptability of odor. And the ammonia is criteria only in M1 classification. So no other international classification is taking into account ammonia levels. And the acceptability of odor is covered only in 2 other classifications than M1. So there is this good and Danish indoor climate label that are taking into account the odor. And although this testing in Europe is generally based on the same standard, EN 16516, the measurement and calculation methods differ within the different classifications, so the limit values cannot be directly compared. And also the time that the testing is done is differing with the different classifications. So in M1 classification, we do this 28 days old testing, but in other there can be different days, like 3 days old product is tested. So these are telling about the different story. In M1 classification, we see that we want to represent the longitudinal exposure in indoor environments. So it is this 4 weeks, the 4 weeks old product that is tested. And of course, this makes it a little bit difficult to compare, because in M1 these are given, the criteria are given by these cell values. So, and in other ones they are in model room concentrations. But then about the EU taxonomy. So of course EU taxonomy is a part of EU Green Deal, and there are aims to jointly define which activities can be considered sustainable. And there are in EU taxonomy the requirements for indoor emissions for building materials. So there are this no significant harm criteria for the objectives of substantial contribution to climate change mitigation and substantial contribution to climate change adaptation. And these should be taken into account in the construction of new buildings, but also in the renovation of existing buildings. So how M1 can respond to the EU taxonomy needs? So in 2023, Rakennustieto has launched an additional service for M1 classification to ensure that the product can be used for EU taxonomy requirements proving. So in the certificate you can have this additional service. So there are limits for the formaldehyde and the carcinogenic compounds in EU taxonomy. But then with the M1 you can prove these are under this EU taxonomy criteria, or then for SINTEF you can has the full scope, so also containing the volatile organic compounds criteria there. Here is a picture. It's a little bit blurry text, but no problem, because I will tell you. So this with the red bars, it is giving the explanation that this product is below the EU taxonomy limits. So this is our typical certification. So you will have the company name there for which one product, which product name the classification is given, and what is the valid time of this certification. And then in the red bars there are these EU taxonomy criteria given, and this product is below this criteria. So this type of certificate verifies that the product is M1 classified, low emitting, and supports good indoor quality, but also provides the emission data needed for EU taxonomy reporting. And this way, this is standardized, unambiguous, and correct format for EU taxonomy reporting. And of course, this reported emission data is verified by an impartial third party. But now I will give the stage to Annina. Please, Annina, go forward.
Yes, thank you. Now I will briefly introduce the application process and share some tips for applying. In the picture, you can see the M1 process flow, where you can see the main steps for the applying. And this is all can be found on our website. And next, I tell you that how to use the portal. And if you are using the portal for the first time, please register first. And if your email address isn't already in the system, the page will give an username is already in use message. And then you have to click forgot your password, and you will get the new password that way. And how does the application portal support the M1 process? So applications are left logged in, allowing the applicant to monitor the progress of the application and supplement their application if necessary. A draft application can be deleted, but if the submitted application is either submitted or additional information required, the application can be further edited. And please remember to press submit button so that the application will be sent in the applications being processed in Rakennustieto. And about the classification related information, the classification certificates and classification labels are no longer sent to applicant by email, but the documentation can be downloaded from the portal after the application has been approved. And the documents can be found in the application attachments in the folder classification documents. And the contact person can see all products in portal and can thus better manage, for example, upcoming renewal needs. And also all the company's applications under the control of the contact person can be found in the portal. The portal sends automatic reminder for expiring classifications. The reminder is sent to both the application contact person and the company's general email address if this is unknown. If the classification renewal process has already started, the reminder message can be ignored. And if you want to give up the classification, you must notify us so that the application can be deactivated. And the instructions for applying can be found on our website. There you can find the application process and application type specific instructions. And website also includes classifications fees, criteria, and testing instructions, as well as search for M1 products. And the dates of upcoming classification meetings can be found on the application portal homepage. And then some tips for making the application. So you have to select the application type that best describes your application. Application can only have one type, but that doesn't mean that one application can include several different things. And you have to also remember to use the additional information field on the form, and you can always attach a cover letter or other clarifying document to your application. And applications with multiple decision numbers cannot be combined into one application. And each application must include at least one product. Product information can be added either the Add Product button, or if the application includes more than 5 products, then select the mass import of product information. And download the import template and attach the file filled in according to the instructions as an attachment to the application. And we will send requests for additional information by email, but please always complete the information in the application in the portal. And please remember to resubmit the application for processing, otherwise it will not be returned to the list of the applications to be processed. And if you have product group, remember to first send the product grouping application so that the classification committee can select the product to be tested for a new or renewal application. And please use only an approved laboratory for emission testing, which performs testing according to the M1 testing protocol, including odor approval and ammonia emission. And we have introduced some updates to the application portal, and now I will go through them. One new feature is the Order Product Specific Certificates option. By default, all products are included in the same certificate. However, if you want a separate classification certificate for each product, you can select this option. In that case, an individual certificate will be generated for each product, and an additional fee will be applied according to the price list. And another upcoming update is the application name identifier field. This is optional and allows the applicant to assign a custom identifier to their application, which will be added to the application title. And below you can see an example of where this identifier will appear. For example, you can include the product type or main material to this identifier, which can help make it easier to identify applications. And another upcoming update is the mandatory requirements for attachment types. Each application must include the necessary documents specific to that application type. When all the required attachment types are immediately attached, application processing will be faster. As shown in the picture, a corresponding attachment types is selected for each file and it can be found at the end of the attachment name. And in the future, the applicant will be able to copy a previous application as the basis for a new applications. But we will share more information about these updates in our upcoming newsletters also. And finally, why apply M1 classification for your products? M1 is a well-known and respected classification in Europe and increasingly around the world. It signals quality and responsibility customers, designers, and regulators. And it supports healthy indoor environments by setting limit values for volatile organic compounds, formaldehyde and ammonia, as well as evaluating odor. And M1 is well known and trusted in the construction industry. And responsible choice supports sustainable construction and environmentally friendly decision making, helping to meet the requirements of EU taxonomy. And it is also well suited for environmentally certified projects. And in addition, the M1 serves as a quality guarantee and it communicates high product quality and manufacturer responsibility, and it is often a requirement in public constructions projects in Finland. But yeah, that's all for this time, and thank you for your interest. We can now stop recording, so if you have any question, feel free to ask.